Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Wim Liu. I'm joined by co-host Alex Wong. You're listening to the Hello Welcome podcast presented by Betway. We are coming to you live Wednesday afternoon, Tuesday morning. Darko Rajakovic gave his end of season press conference, and today, Wednesday morning, Masai Ujiri gave his end of season press conference. We're going to talk about all the things that they shared in terms of their reflections on this past season. Of course, we'll talk a little bit about the play-in games that took place. Alex Wong losing a bit of money on his beloved Grizzlies, who, despite all the help from the officials down the stretch, could not overcome
Zach Edey's fault.
Warriors.
Yeah.
Yo, Zach Edey, buddy. That was tough. That was a tough one for Zach Edey. I feel so bad because like for a rookie in that situation, like it's just like, how am I going to expect a rookie to play well against the Golden State Warriors who have won 4 rings between like Steph and Draymond and that whole iteration? And I'm just like, man, obviously he's going to struggle, but yeah, he did look pretty bad towards the second half.
Yeah, and the stupid 5-second violation at the end, man. What are we doing, man? Why are we ending a playoff game, a playing game with a 5-second, man? Just throw the ball in. I'm out on Santi Aldama. I'm out on Coach Thomas. I'm out on the Grizzlies, man.
So me and Jerome, we're playing our usual Tuesday basketball run, which ends at 11. So after the game ended, we were like, all right, let's hop over to a bar so we can watch the second half of that game. And we're watching the game, we're enjoying it. Obviously, it's like a playing game. It's also like Warriors Grizzlies is a fun one. And then I just kept turning to Jerome. I'm like, why do they keep putting the coach on the screen? Stop showing me Thomas Isalo. And he had no.
Is that his name? I just found out now when you said it.
Thomas Isalo. Yeah, that's his name. But like, I was just like, dog, this game is not about him right now. It just isn't, man. Like, we got Steph, we got Draymond, we got Jared Jackson, we got Desmond Bane, we got John Morant hurting his ankle. We got Jimmy Butler who took over. So that was all pretty fun, man. I'm really happy real basketball's back, by the way.
Yeah, it's almost back. I mean, no one really cares about the Eastern Conference play-ins, to be honest. Like, unless you're part of the
Speak for yourself, buddy. Speak for yourself.
Or are you gonna break down this Orlando blowout of the Atlanta Hawks?
On my way to
self-tank your own ratings.
You did actually bring it up when we started, right before we started playing our pickup run. You're like, man, Orlando, Atlanta. And I'm like, what?
I was actually disappointed I couldn't watch the fourth quarter. By the way, Orlando apparently just took over the fourth quarter. Cole Anthony kind of went off a little bit too. But my big takeaway watching at least the first of the 2 sets of play-in games in the East is just, if the Raptors can't get to the level of what Atlanta showed in this game, of what, or even what Orlando showed or what Atlanta shows. I mean, I'm not going to be. I can't expect like something completely left out of left field in terms of like it's going to blow you away with like what Miami's going to do or what
we did beat them back to back on the road this season.
No, this is what I mean. Like, I'm just like, if the Raptors aren't even at this level next year, it would really be disappointing because I walked away unimpressed with both teams, even though Orlando did, cruise to the 7th seed. Congratulations.
Yeah, I'm falling asleep to this Magic Hawks talk, man. The East should have 6 playoff teams.
Yeah, Paolo Banchero went like 5 for 20 with like a bunch of free throws.
I saw someone today online, I think a Magic fan, because Orlando's playing Boston now in the first round, and he's like, anybody else smell an upset here? It's like, no, man. Get yourself a smell test. COVID might be moving around again. Nobody's smelling that.
The most surprising thing is you saw a Magic fan, man. I don't think. No, seriously,
that is impressive.
I don't know, but
I think there are people who are rooting for the Magic right now.
Ooh.
Well, here we have Coco in the
Tiger
chat
Woods.
saying I was rooting for the Magic.
Wait, Tiger Woods is a Magic fan?
Yeah, just because he lives there.
Oh, okay.
Right, that's fair.
Fair.
Maybe people lingering from the 90s and Penny and Shaq and all that.
Oh, man, I can't believe I'm saying this, but tell me what Darko Rajakovic said, man.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about the press conferences because this is what we're all here to talk about. Let's start with Masai, and then we'll move to Darko. Let's go with
pushed to the second spot. Yeah, no, Masai is the main event.
When Masai speaks, it's always like
Blueprint 3 Masai.
Yeah, Death Auto Tune. First thing from Masai I thought was interesting was him talking about the addition of Brandon Ingram and that I think for a lot of us in the media, I think the interpretation with the trade was, oh, they're expediting the rebuild. They're bringing in Brandon Ingram. He's obviously a player who I think he's going to year 9 or maybe year 10 of his career. He's been in the league a few times now, obviously with the Lakers and then a long time with the Pelicans. He's already made an all-star team. He's in his prime right now. The Raptors instantly extended him to a 3-year, $120 million deal. And so the assumption, I guess, was that the Raptors are trying to expedite the rebuild. But when asked directly about, how does, the addition of Brandon, impact, I guess, the course in which the Raptors are taking, I think Masai was pretty cautious to say basically that this does not accelerate the rebuild. It does not affect the rebuild. They saw it as a great opportunity. Masai used the word unique like probably 20 times. It feels like the presser. It's kind of a
new buzzword in the MLSE offices.
I mean, he used unique more than he used winning, which I think is like, the odds-on favor for what Masai is going to say the most. But basically, he just said it was a good time to acquire him, and he expects him to sort of like fill in and fit into the system. One thing I did like, because they did have end of season press conferences for the players. What that typically means is the players then go, meet with front office before sort of they talk to the media. And Masai did share that he talked to Brandon, and his overall impression with what Brandon is coming in to do is Brandon wants to come in and fit in with the rest of the team and not sort of like disrupt or take over.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll put it to you. Why did the Raptors acquire Brandon Ingram if they were not trying to accelerate the rebuild?
Well, I mean, Masai can think that, but like, I think making the move for Brandon Ingram did accelerate the rebuild, because now you're taking off the table probably an opportunity to do a long-term rebuild where you're in the lottery next year or beyond. Like, I think they've already, flipped the script on that, and there's just a lot of talk about taking the next step, to making the play-in and the playoffs. And I think for the Raptors, again, like Brandon, this was the only chance for them to acquire a player of that talent, of that stature. Like, they were not going to get into free agency and probably get one of these other guys, whoever is available. So, the move makes sense, but I don't want to agree with Masai that it doesn't affect the rebuild. I mean, you're effectively putting a winning product on next year, which means that you're changing the expectations and you're moving up the timeline.
It's interesting because I think this does represent a pretty important inflection point in terms of if the Raptors wanted to go into a full-scale rebuild in the way that like you've seen Utah go into the last couple of years, maybe what Washington has gone through the last couple of years. I don't think that they would have made the Ingram trade, regardless of whether or not it was a good time and the right price to acquire. Because as you mentioned, like if you're gonna commit to like 3, 4, 5 years of like being hardcore bad, you don't add players of that quality, even if it comes at a great price, which we've talked about many times that all it cost was a pretty crappy Indiana first-round pick and 2 veterans that you didn't really want to keep around anyway, and Bruce Brown and Kelly Olynyk. Because I think when you look back at it, like when the Raptors started the rebuild with moving off of Pascal or moving off of OG first, and then a month later moving off of Pascal, the OG trade, they brought back 2 players of immediate value in IQ who had to be re-signed, and the Raptors did re-sign him, and RJ Barrett, who's under contract. I think all along the Raptors have wanted to sort of reset, like get off of the old guys who were in the room. I think that some of them maybe overstayed their welcome. I think that maybe some of them reached a point of frustration where even people were ready to move on, and ultimately I think they just wanted to start fresh. But I also don't think that they wanted to bottom out for 3-4 years, and I think that's pretty clear, like with the team that they built. So
yeah, no, I wonder too if just the ownership has an appetite to actually be okay with the team going on like a 3-4 year run of what we've seen like last season and this season. I don't think they would have, approved of that plan either. I feel like they talk about, Rodgers coming in, potentially, I think taking over like full ownership at some point, or at least having the majority ownership. Like, you cross over and you look at the Blue Jays too, like, even them like signing like Vladimir Guerrero and stuff. Like there's ways for that baseball team to like pivot, but instead they're pouring more money in. And Ed Rodgers was talking about this week at the Vladdy press conference about how like they just want to be competing like every year and stuff. And I feel like some of that does bleed over into here too. So like some of it, I think this is obviously Masai's plan. Like he believes in these players, he believes in this core group. He thinks it's time to take a step forward. But I also don't think like Toronto as a market and this ownership probably had an appetite to see this team be like a bottom team like a Utah for like 5 years.
What do you think the fan reaction to that would have been?
I mean, it would have been mixed. I mean, I think you would have had smart basketball fans who would understand that like this could be the path towards building like an OKC type team where you could be, coming out of it competing for like the next decade. But then you'd also be having just the general fan being upset that you're paying this amount of money and committing to like season tickets and watching a product that like no one cares about. Like you already saw the frustration last year and this year with that, right? Like even this year with like just the tanking. I think there was a lot of people that were frustrated. So I think it would have been divided, and you would have just had too many people like be turned off or tune out on this team, and I feel like that's too risky for this franchise to do for like a 4 or 5 year period. So
yeah, I'm always gonna be curious because I think that like the one thing with the rebuild is you just hope that you only have to rebuild once. You know what I mean? If you rebuild, you get the guys in, you invest in them, and it turns out you still don't have the ultimate difference makers. That's when you might look back and regret in certain moments. But of course, I mean, for me, as long as the players are improving and they're raising their stocks year over year, I think that there's still a great chance for the Raptors to pivot through trade. You know what I mean? They don't always have to pivot by being the absolute worst team in the league, competing with like Utah year in, year out, to then try to hopefully get some lottery talent. Although I will have to say, similar to how this draft is really, really celebrated, and Masai did say multiple times in his press conference today that he feels like this year is a really good draft. Next year evidently is also going to be a really, really good draft. And so like I do think that if the Raptors lose next year, it could kind of be a similar situation to this one where it's not a bad thing if they have to pivot to a tank because there is a lot of talent, but also at the same time, if they win next year, then it's a step forward for this group currently as constructed. But I thought that part was interesting. I liked what he shared about the meeting that he had with Ingram. Again, it seems like Ingram just really wants to fit in here, and Ingram really wants to elevate his game by fitting into this program. And so, I mean, look, Ingram's been on winning teams, and so I'm hoping that, next year will be similar to that. Cause I think even for us in the media, like, obviously we prefer to cover winning teams. The next takeaway I had from going to the Masai press conference is that he praised the team culture. When he asked about the team culture, he said the culture is A+. There's not even room really to debate on this front. I think this kind of continues the theme that like Darko and the players. So the players talked Monday, Darko talked Tuesday, and then Masai today on Wednesday. The overarching theme that you've heard from everybody from top to bottom is how good the Raptors team culture is. Even though they're coming off a 30-52 season, they seem a lot happier than last season. I know Scotty said something on Monday where he's like, you can see my face now as compared to like what my face was like, at the end of last season. Like he seems happier now. He is happier now. And everyone just keeps talking about how despite the fact that they've been losing and they're developing, everybody's just really upbeat. It feels like everyone's really invested in this program. How does this make you feel when you see that the Raptors, continuously say that the culture is A+, despite obviously the record not being A+ yet?
Yeah, I'm not going to take away from it, but I also think like when you're a rebuilding team in this phase, like this is kind of like a honeymoon period, right? Like you get to say the good things about the coach, you get to say the good things about the young guys, you get to talk up, the relationship that's been built between Darko and Scotty and Darko and like the rest of the players. Like, so I don't think it's nothing. Like you'd rather have this than get to the end of the season and kind of wonder, what the mix of this group is like. But, it's not everything. I think culture is nice to talk about, especially, with the phase where the team is right now. But, I don't want to talk about culture next year. I want to talk about the team winning and kind of moving forward. So, I'm glad Masai gave an A+. I think it was a big emphasis for him and the team to be in a good spot just from a chemistry standpoint. Especially after I know he was asked today too about how, a couple of years ago he was calling the team selfish and all that stuff. And now that's all gone. So, I'm glad they've turned the page over and all this. And now I think they're ready to just, talk about other stuff other than culture.
Well, one thing I want to ask you is because look, I having to whatever extent media get access, having gone to practices, having been there, before the games, talking to some people as well, like I don't think this is a front. I don't think that they're trying to sell you this. I think that this is like genuinely how the team is. Seeing the way they interact, I think it's really strong. Even in games, I feel like they stick together more. Second half of the season, after they had that really terrible part of the year where they lost 16 of 17 games, that dropped them to, I believe, 8-31 on the season. Masai actually did explain. He was like, "Yeah, I know I'm not supposed to say this, but like we were actually all really sick, and there was like a flu."
Oh yeah, there was a flu going around. Yeah,
right. So like, he said he was sick. He said his kids were sick. Obviously, lots of players were sick, and so that probably affected a lot of their play. This is in that stretch towards the end of December when they were playing at their worst, I would say. But nevertheless, like I think all their interactions are genuine. I don't feel like this is a sales pitch. You know what I mean? Like I don't think he's trying to cover up for anything or try to speak anything into existence. My only question to you is like, how much is it easier to sort of work around things when there's like very little expectation? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why
I feel like expectations, at least for me, like I know a function of like for my own happiness, expectations ultimately determine whether or not I'm going to be happy or not. And I think when there's no expectations, it really is a lot easier to be happy.
Yeah, this was like a transition year for them, right? So I think it's easy for them to say these things and feel good about it. I think next year when Masai's at the podium at the trade deadline end of the season, the conversation is going to be different, right? Like if they come back next season at the end of the year and they only have won 32, 35 games, and like you mentioned, then it's a whole other conversation about what this team is. I think right now the expectation is the team takes a step forward next year, but it's like, oh, what if they don't? Like if they don't, then it's a complete reevaluation of like, okay, the culture is good, but the talent is not good enough, and the guys that they've put together is actually not a good mix. So, I think this was the year to do all of this stuff. Help build the culture. Talking about Scotty being a leader, I know he gave him an A+ on that too.
Yep.
Just handing out just great grades today.
Hey man, but
this is like when me and you recap the Tampa season, and somehow every player outside of DeAndre Bembry got like an A-.
Really? DeAndre was great cutter that year.
We're like, man, Malachi tried hard. Jalen Harris had that 30 piece in Dallas.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's it's good vibes right now. It's good, They've built the foundation. They got a bunch of great rookies in this year. But yeah, I'm not here to talk about culture next year.
No, fair enough. I do want to see some more results. To that extent, obviously, we talked about this on Monday's episode, but Scotty did come out and say that he wants the team to make the playoffs. He expects the team to make the playoffs, make a big run. He said there's no excuse not to do that for next season. Actually, Masai was asked directly about these comments, and he said, we go with Scotty. He's the leader, and he's happy that as a competitor, he expects something different from Scotty. But when he was personally pressed to be like, what are your expectations? Forget, backing Scotty's statement. I think his statement was, we will continue to grow. I expect us that we continue to grow. The end goal for me is how do we win a championship?
The end goal is the championship, baby.
No, it's the same answer the Darko gave. This is why I thought it was an interesting media strategy in terms of what's the consistent media messaging. Both Darko and Masai have, when put on the spot, actually like sidestepped the word playoffs, but Scotty ran right in with the word playoffs. So,
well, it's way easier. It's way easier for the player to put those expectations on. Like it's a no-win situation, I think, for a coach or Masai, someone in the front office, to set like a specific expectation. Like
sure.
You know what I mean? Like you can't actually, like there's too much to lose in that scenario where if you keep things vague and you do the Clay Davis, walk, crawl, then run. Next year they crawl. This year they walk. So next year they're gonna crawl. Crawl into the play-in, maybe try to crawl into the top 6, and then they'll run in 2 years. Yeah.
You're telling me I'm Stringer Bell holding a light bulb contract right now?
You better study microeconomics next year. No, but I think if you were to really ask Masai, I think he would expect the same of this team, right? To take a step. Like take a step means make the play-in, make the playoffs, right?
Yeah. What other step is going to take? You're literally 11th.
Yeah. Like
next step is you're 10th and you're in the play-in at minimum.
So I think, and I think Masai too is a little careful too, because like he's the one who was very play-in for what a long time ago, and he was very against rebuilding, and he's had to take those words back in a way because he had to take a step back with this team. So it's not like he can come to the podium 3 years later and be like, okay, yeah, play-in's the goal. That doesn't sound that great, especially when you've won a championship, right? So
yeah. Well, I mean, look, I think in the other senses of the words, I think thinking back to 2023 when was this 20? Yeah, when the season ended in the play-in, and Fred walked into free agency and ultimately left the franchise, and Nick, everyone knew Nick was getting fired. At that time, I especially remember thinking about like, what's the culture of the team going to look like? Because guys like Nick, guys like Fred, those guys set so much of the tone for like the day-to-day going on between the head coach and obviously the leader of the team. And I think the one biggest thing we kept coming back to was just the Raptors need to get back to a point where they're able to develop, identify, and produce talent again, because that is the lifeblood of the organization. And I think on that front, that's where, for me, like the culture really is A+, because you actually are seeing improvements across the board coming into the year in terms of where the stock and the value of a guy like Ochai Agbaji was coming into the year, coming out of the year. I'm like, that went higher. Same thing with a guy like RJ. Same thing with a guy like Grady Dick. I think for the 4 rookies, that's the part where everybody's really enjoyed from top down how much these 4 rookies really were able to sort of develop, grow, and I guess form a bit of the culture for the team, which is rare for rookies. But the 4 rookies together being able to play well, I think that's a huge win organizationally for the coaches, but especially for the front office and identifying those guys. So in that sense, I actually really do agree with the fact that the culture is A+. I know it sounds silly to heap this much praise when they win 30 games, but really this year was not about the wins. It was about setting up the team for success in the future. And I think in that sense, they've done a good job. Speaking of building on the future, the next step for the Raptors, I think, hearing Masai talk about it, was that they do need another young big in their group. And I think that one of the ways the Raptors can obviously add talent is through this draft. The Raptors diligently tanked the last 2 months of the season to try to get themselves in the best position possible. That still ultimately means the 7th best odds. We've talked about that multiple times, but the identity and the need of the team, they need another young big to add to the group. Obviously, in the draft, there's 2 bigs between Kama Malawach and Derek Queen. Those guys are kind of, estimated, mocked in the range that the Raptors will potentially pick. But I think beyond the draft, because we'll have lots of time to talk about the draft, and we've talked about those 2 guys before. My question to you is, if the Raptors want to add a young big, wouldn't it make sense for the Raptors to trade somebody from a position of value and strength that the Raptors have on the roster already for that big, if they don't, potentially add that through the draft? And I'm specifically thinking about the fact that the Raptors have so many options at shooting guard. And for me, it feels pretty ideal. Can the Raptors trade one of the young shooting guards to get a young big just to balance out the core of that group? So my question to you is, like, who should that young shooting guard be that could potentially have value to bring back somebody of value? And also, do you agree with this idea that the Raptors should try to balance out sort of like the I guess the makeup and the build positionally of the team?
Yeah, I think it would make sense for them to add another big to this roster. Man, who would they trade? Like Ochai Agbaji? I don't know what his value would be. Like maybe one of your rookies. But like, do you want to get rid of one of your rookies, like a Jamal Shed or even Mobo, if you're thinking about those guys too? I'm just thinking about guys with like some value.
I mean, Grady. I feel like Grady would have some value as well.
Yeah.
And this is not us trying to move off or quit on these players. I just think that, like, in addition to potentially drafting this big, which I think that's probably the most likely outcome, is that the Raptors use the 1st round pick this year on Malawach or on Queen. But at the same time, I think that there's also an opportunity on the roster where you trade from a position of surplus. And we do have a surplus of shooting guards.
We should take on a damaged goods Mark Williams, man.
Oh my goodness!
Oh, we should call Nico and try to fleece him for Derek Lively.
You know what? Derek Lively would be like a number one.
I bet you if you float him like a first rounder, he might get desperate.
Oh,
like a future first, couple future first, maybe. Yeah.
Would you like
2 first for Lively?
Well, I guess. Well, I don't know if he either commands 2 first. That feels a little strong, but no,
I guess that feels more than the Luka trade.
No, but you know what? Yeah, there are certainly GMs around the league that I would be eager to call. I think he seems to be one of the most. He's the highest on the list in terms of like guys who probably will give you a pretty favorable deal. I feel like Orlando has multiple centers too, and they need shooting, which I feel like. And there's obviously Jeff Weltman used to work with Masai. as well
Oh
here in
yeah,
Toronto
because
as well.
Bobby only deals with 4 GMs. the
Bobby's,
guy in San Antonio,
Bobby's like,
Jeff
what up?
Wellman. He's like, what up, Welt?
Yo,
the three most
Welt.
famous words.
Yeah, what up, Beck, and what up, Welt?
Yeah, but yeah,
No,
no,
but
we
like
could-
I
we
would
could
call up
pull the trade for a
Orlando.
bit.
I would
Yeah.
actually call up Orlando. That's a team, especially if you watched yesterday's playing game, the 7-8. Even though that they won, they just, to me, like even like they added KCP, you know, as like their sort of like big veteran addition who should have been a really good 3-and-D player for them, but really hasn't really shot the three very well. By the way, at one point KCP, I saw him like try to call, because the Hawks were making this run. The Magic were dominating the first half, and then the Hawks threw the first punch coming out the third quarter. And so like Trae Young was scoring, and there was a couple breakdowns. They kept fouling him. They were eating into the lead. And you could tell the Magic were frustrated. And KCP was like, guys, come in here, man. Come in here, man. Let's huddle up and focus. And Paolo was looking at him, and he was like, nah, I'm not coming in this huddle. I was like, damn, they don't really respect KCP like that.
This one Kyle Kuzma tried to be a leader in Washington. Or Spencer Dinwiddie.
Yeah, it kind of gave me those vibes. I'm like, they're like, man, you just missed 10 threes in a row. Like, what's going on?
Guys got to know their role, man.
Yeah.
Like,
Anyway, my point is, I think that team, despite the addition of KCP, certainly need some young shooters. And yeah, that would be a team I would call. And it depends if you like a Goga Bataze, even if you like a Wendell Carter Jr. or like these kind of players, like if the Raptors don't ultimately go the draft route in free agency, and we'll see sort of who they could add. But if they go a trade route, I think that actually makes a lot of sense for me.
Yeah, what up, Jerome?
I mean, just in the spirit of adding a young big through the draft, how about we spin some Tankathon?
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do that. All
Let's
right,
do
are you
it.
gonna set that up?
Just jonesing for this, man.
Why are you groaning like Jay-Z, man?
Oh, no ads today.
Yeah, I removed them.
Nice. Yo, zoom in your screen a little bit, man. Let's get this.
All right, 1 sec. Is that better?
Yeah, two more of those. One more.
Even that's super tight at this point. Okay.
Yeah.
Here we go. All right, so we got it zoomed in. As for listeners listening through the audio, we are on tankathon.com. The Raptors are currently at the 7th spot, but we are going to sim the lottery. Guys, where do you think Toronto is going to land after our sim?
What's the lowest they can fall to? Like
10th.
3 spots? Okay,
10th.
10th. I'm going to go with 10th. Yeah.
You can go
Come
with
on,
10th?
bro. There's like a 0.3% chance they go to 10th.
Well, I like to play my odds.
Evidently, bro.
Evidently.
This is the guy who bet on the Grizzlies. This guy bet on
Shouts,
Thomas
Manus.
Isalo.
All right, Will, who do you have? Where are the Raptors landing?
Last time we spun for the last game of the season, they were second, I believe.
I believe so,
yeah. I'm gonna go with 7. They're probably sticking at 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was right after everything was locked, Tankathon did their own, and they posted that the Raptors got the first pick, I believe.
Wonderful.
But here, let's sim that lottery right now. 4th.
Oh, okay.
Damn.
4th.
Meow.
I'll take 4th. This is basically what happened. Wow, what the hell? Charlotte. Oh man, Philadelphia jumped to 3rd. I hate that, man. I
Yeah, the
hate that.
keys have Philadelphia to lose their pick because it'd be pretty funny.
That's actually my ideal. If the Raptors didn't jump in the top 4, but Philadelphia lost their pick, I think I'd be okay with that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thunder gonna need that pick after they get knocked out in the second round by the Clippers. So.
Oh my goodness. You know what? By
Official-
the way,
Official predictions coming this week.
quietly,
Oh,
I
wow.
feel like Masai might agree with you because I think he was talking about sort of like the landscape of the league and how much parity there is right now. And he's like, "Do you know who's going to win the title right now? Because I don't. You know what I mean?" He's like,
I do. Boston.
He's like, Boston's a great team and they're the reigning champions, so we'll give them respect. But do we know who else is going to win? And I think someone in the room piped up and said like OKC, and he's like, "Yeah. we don't know who's going to win." So
I like
it's like,
wow.
I like that.
yeah. So we'll
Jalen
see.
Williams, second option.
I'm just telling you, man. We're talking second bananas.
I just don't understand why the people even would hate on OKC, man. Like that's a young team who hasn't even done anything yet. Like just
Not hating.
let them make their run.
I got sucked into the Clippers again, man.
Oh man, not.
Yeah.
Speaking of guys who always win, the LA Clippers.
Well, we're gonna be on the Scores Unfiltered show tomorrow,
And
Joe Cash did ask for us to submit our playoff predictions. So
yeah, I'm gonna do that after I take a nap. Because
got the Clippers in the Western Conference Final. So
wow. Does that mean they're upsetting OKC in round 2?
hell yeah,
Oh wow.
hell
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Can't wait to see the Scores Unfiltered show tomorrow then.
which you're gonna be on.
Which I'll also be on.
Which we are doing our own playoff preview on Friday.
So why are we doing 2 of these shows? We just did this.
We are going to be diving in
and
making our official predictions.
You sure you don't want to do favorite Raptors moments of the season?
Hell no. Please get a guess. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What's next? What else did Masai say?
So in addition to wanting the young big, I mean, he talked about a couple other things too. Speaking of the older bigs on the roster, he did also answer a direct question about the Chris Boucher situation.
Oh, yes, I heard this. Yeah.
I actually appreciate Masai's transparency and honesty in this front because I feel like we haven't gotten a straight answer about Chris, and that's kind of what made it even more frustrating for a lot of fans who are pretty attached to Chris, have seen him obviously be the longest tenured Raptor, the last hangover from 2019. You know, this is the last guy, and seeing the season pass without him getting a chance to play, and no real direct answers, especially obviously Darko's been the one answering. There hasn't been a direct answer with Chris Boucher. And I think hearing Masai explain the situation, at least to me, shows that the Raptors do care about Chris, which I think more than anything else was probably the most important thing. Whether he plays one more game or if he moves on, it is what it is. But
too little, too late. But go ahead.
He said this was a tough one. We had all the communication with Chris. It was a tough place to put him. When he played, he had a great year. Everybody knows who he is. His value stands here with us and in the league. People call Masai about Chris. He's basically like family. Our communication will always be great. We spent a lot of time with him yesterday. Darko and Bobby talked with him a lot over the course of the season. Chris is a competitor, and it was a tough place to put him. I don't know who Jamison Battle, who Jonathan Mobile are as competitors yet, and that's why we need to give them opportunity. And he needed to throw them into the fire, and therefore that's why Chris didn't play in the second half of the season. They want to get a better look at Jamison, at a better look at Jonathan. Based on what was said here, it basically sounds like the team is going to move on. This is not the kind of thing that you say and then you re-sign him. If anything, I actually thought what was really quietly decent for Masai to say was how many times he reiterated that Chris still has value in this league, that when Chris played, he played well, and that, he mentioned that multiple teams still call Chris and talk about sort of Chris.
That's Jeff Weltman. That's Jeff Weltman calling every day.
Oh, Jeff Weltman. Let's get a Chris Boucher.
What up, Welt?
Chris and Ochai for Goga Batadze. I actually wouldn't hate that at all.
I appreciate Masai, calling Chris family and explaining the situation, but that's fine. Like I understand this was a year you wanted to see guys like Jamison Battle, Mobo, and see what they could do on the floor, but it still doesn't excuse him not playing that final home game. Unless Chris himself specifically was like, I haven't played, like this doesn't need to be a charity thing where you're just going to play me for this final home game, then it's fine. But from their perspective to be like, oh yeah, we're just not going to play him for this final home game. Like in a season where you did all these tributes to Raptors players and all this stuff, just not even getting him in for that final ovation. Like that didn't make sense to me. So docking a point for culture is down to A-. Yeah.
Wow. Would the culture's ruined because of Chris? They didn't play Chris? No, I mean, I think, for me, I think there is always a question of like, where does sentimentality play into sports? Because everything is so focused on like doing the right thing, getting the most out of the situation, the most development, the most winning, the best strategy, optimizing every single little bit. And there's so much obsessing over sports that we kind of like really just skate by the overall feeling of sports. And I think that this probably happens a lot in media too, because we like to sort of get in the weeds and look at this and that. I think that when we take a step back, like there really is a lot of emotion in this. And I think for me, that's one of the most rewarding parts of this is like getting to know people, seeing their journey, reflecting on sort of the different moments that they get through and the time that you spend together. And ultimately people move on. Everybody's going to move on in your life. You know what I mean? Like that's just the nature of life. But like you still should try to value and cherish the time that you have with these people. And I really, really did like that journey with Chris. And that's where, for me, it's like even the end of the season, people were yelling and complaining about like, wow, the org should have played Chris, or like, no, the org should just develop the players. His time has gone and passed. To me, I'm just like, I guess I have a hard time moving on from people. You know what I mean? Especially when you go through as many things that you do with Chris, and I think that like everyone can really respect and value his story. And that's why I like the care and the truthfulness in which Masai approached this situation with. At least now we can get some closure on this situation,
Yeah, still should have played him.
Yeah, well, I agree with you. It would have been great if he played him in the last game of the year. Chris Boucher going to one-on-one against Taj Gibson. You know,
Not Tosh.
I mean, what do you want? That was the last home game. It was Charlotte.
Okay, maybe it was disrespectful to bring in Chris then.
You're like, Chris, man, go out there and swat Taj Gibson's bald dome. You know what I mean? Like that wouldn't really work the same way.
Oh, man.
I hope for Chris's sake, by the way, that he has retained value across the league, even though he didn't play much this year, and that I hope that there is a situation for him where he's able to land in a winning organization.
Yeah, no, I think he'll
find
a team. Like I don't know, obviously if it's going to be a team that's going for a championship. For some reason, I envision him being in Dallas.
Okay,
I don't know why I see him ending up in Dallas.
Yeah. Sure. Hey, maybe that's.
I hope he does it, but I hope he does it. Man.
Maybe that's a lively trade, baby. Let's go.
I don't want him to be part of Nico's regime.
I would want him to land up in a better situation. If I had to pick, if I had to guess, I'm saying Milwaukee.
Okay,
Milwaukee or Chicago. Actually.
I'll go with Denver.
Yeah. He going to the Central Division. All right.
Okay,
He's about to be Central C. The C stands for Chinese.
What? Don't explain it.
You know Central C, right? Like the rapper.
Yeah. That one freestyle he did with Drake. Yeah. Combination.
So, yeah. That's the one on the radar freestyle. So we were listening to Central C in the arena, me and Mainlander, Jeremy, who's from mainland China.
Jeremy, a mainlander who is from the mainland.
I don't have to explain it. Mainlander is so funny, but he's like. He turned around because like Jeremy, despite being from China, like is actually a huge hip hop head. Like he like loves.
Pop he likes exactly the hip hop you would think he likes.
Oh, bro, he loves hip hop. So he turned to me. He's like, "Yo, Will, you know Central C? He's Chinese." I'm like, "What?"
Is he actually Chinese though?
No, because Chinese people have this like not slightly problematic like thing where we like to claim things. We're like, "Oh yeah. Noodles are Chinese, Japanese or Korean script that were originally Chinese, it'd be like, we just like to overclaim. Let's just say that much. Okay. He's like, so I'm like, is this one of those things? Like, are we just claiming Central C, whatever? He's like, no, you should look at his ancestry. He's Chinese. Like he's part Chinese because he's from Guyana.
Ancestry.com.
Yeah. And then we actually looked it up. He actually is part Chinese. So I'm calling Central C is Central China for me.
Oh, so he's part. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Asian. What's he gonna do for Asian Heritage Month, man? Yeah.
He's probably gonna say, "All right," and then
freestyle in Mandarin.
Yo, that would be kind of fire, man.
Combination. All right. What else? What else from this great presser?
So the last thing this wasn't necessarily like a standout presser from Masai. Quite frankly, there's just not that many interesting things.
I told you it's Blueprint 3 era right now.
Yeah, I think the only thing for me that has been sticking with me for the last couple hours. It's this. I was there at 12 and I had some lunch and I was just reflecting on like what are we actually going to talk about on the show. And the one thing that I kept circling back to was hearing Masai talk about the fact that he didn't fully enjoy the 2019 title.
Yeah.
And this to me, actually, Jerome, can you just present the Twitter clip that I had of this video? Actually, hold on. I can just present the video here on my end. Never mind. One second. Because I actually want to show people what he said about this situation.
There's something about like our championship that maybe I did not enjoy. And I feel that we just have to win another one. And we will win another one here. Yeah, and that's how I feel inside. That's every day I wake up, I sleep, I drink, I eat, is to come and try and to win. Again, nothing else. There's nothing else that I think of in terms of sports than trying to win. Maybe it's from not enjoying it from what happened to me that day. Maybe it's maybe because we're always so focused on everything. Honestly, like the day we won the championship, the only thing I was thinking about is, are we going to resign Kawhi? There's no time to enjoy it, there's nothing. There's not, you don't even think about I guarantee you I'm going to enjoy it, and I guarantee you we're going to win here. That's like where my mind is. In terms of
and I think for me, like the reason this has stuck with me so strongly is like, I think as if you ask any Raptor fan, they can tell you exactly where they were the night of Game 6. The celebrations took place. The celebrations of people on the streets, that night was just like a delirious night. I mean, I obviously yeah, you and our interaction was actually captured. I called you for the pod that night after the Raptors won the championship.
Yeah.
And that was like 3 a.m. local time in Toronto, at least. And you were telling me about all the scenes, and I guess my thing wasn't even about like how you guys felt. I just wanted to know, because I was in Oakland covering the game. I just wanted to know what the scene was like in Toronto. And you were telling me about, like, you know, there's people all over the streets in downtown. It's like one of the most delirious nights that anyone's had in the history of Toronto. You're talking about just seeing Raptor gear all over the place, just the amount of happiness and joy that the city itself was able to sort of like partake in, the country itself was able to partake in. And then, of course, everyone remembers where they were in the parade. I mean, for people who actually waited at City Square, like that sucks that you had to wait 6 hours. And I know that the bathroom situation and obviously the gun scare at the end were all really unpleasant, but
it was also really hot that day.
It was also really hot that day, but also at the same time, I just remember that, like, that's like seared into my mind, the feeling that like everybody skipped work that day, you know. And that moment is always gonna be, and there's all those little celebration moments that we had personally. You remember the night we went to go celebrate? Finally, I was back in Toronto. We were able to celebrate the chip. You know, we went out, you know, hit a couple different, you know, bars and clubs or whatever, and then we ultimately went to Rolson at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
You
This
know,
guy was getting like high-fived by everyone.
Bro, just me as a Raptor reporter.
Chairman Lou.
No, like we got out from the back of the restaurant at 3:30 a.m. I walked out to the front of the restaurant, and like multiple people stood up and wanted to hug me and shake my hand. Like it was a movie, the whole situation. And I think that one of the people I'm most thankful for that chance to even happen is Masai himself. You know, he's the guy who, when he took over the organization, the Raptors were a bottom 5 organization in the league. Like, I don't think that's like trying to spin it as narrative. It was really that bad, right? This organization was irrelevant between when Vince Carter left to when Masai joined. And to see him build the team, to see him, you know, recruit all the pieces, you know, in place to make it happen. And then to see, I guess, even before we won, the feeling of confidence that he gave us, the feeling of, like, you know, that belief that he gave us, to see that one person not be able to enjoy this just makes me so profoundly sad, man. Like, it's we know what happened the night of. We know that there was racial profiling from the police in Oakland that you know, denied Masai from getting into the celebrations on the court. By the way, as somebody who also did not necessarily have my credentials in hand or whatever, like, I was able to make it on the court no problem. So how does the president of the Raptors not be able to make it onto the court? Like, I was physically on that court, and Masai couldn't get onto that court until, you know, that whole interaction with the police. And then the second part with the Kawhi thing, which I guess I'd never really considered in the moment, but like, it just makes me so sad that he actually really wasn't able to
Yeah, I mean, you know, I'll forever hate that security guy for ruining that moment. I mean,
they also try to sue Masai. They try to sue Masai rather than the other way around, even though Masai's the aggrieved party.
This is like Masai, you know, finally reaching, like, you know, the mountaintop. He's waiting to get out onto the court to have his moment, and to have it so tainted by that. And like, this is even the first time that Masai has talked about this. I know he's talked in other pressers and interviews about just not being able to enjoy the process of the championship. So you can tell, like, even this many years out, it's something that's still very on top of his mind and something that really bothers him. And, you know, I think it brings to another perspective too, of like, I think just a perspective of, like, you know, for someone like Masai in his position to always have to, you know, consider all these things, the stress of the job, the stress of the championship run, like, for his first time going through it, I think aside from all these extracurricular things that really ruined it, it does show just like how little enjoyment there is sometimes when you're like in the moment of like, just because you don't know if you're going to ever get that chance again, or you don't know if the team's going to win the championship. And only in retrospect can you look back and look at it and be like, damn, like, I wish I enjoyed it a little bit more. So yeah, so the security guy, but also, yeah, the Kawhi thing's kind of funny because, yeah, Kawhi ruined it for me too. So yeah.
I guess that's the question. Did Kawhi leaving ultimately ruin a bit of that championship?
This guy was in a Clipper uniform laughing, like, you know, doing butt slaps with Steve Ballmer like 3 weeks after the parade.
Oh, man. He probably slapped both cheeks with one hand, man.
Yo, what was that?
He got a big hand span.
Yo, what was that?
The claw. Yeah, I don't know. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I guess especially because players come and go, even coaches come and go with the organization. Like, the one constant in the last 12, 15 years has been Masai, has been the Bobby, has been the front office. Everything else changes. And I really grow attached to the people, man. I really, and maybe this is just for me. It's hard to see people move on, and in an industry like sports where people do get cycled in and out of roles, I just have to sort of like make my peace with that. But it just kind of it haunts me. Like when I watch him talk about how like this motivates him to want to win again, so he can enjoy it properly. That to me feels haunting rather than just motivating.
Yeah. What up, Jerome?
I just have a general question. Obviously, it was such a privilege for all of us from our ends in 2019 to be able to cover the championship and be so enthralled in it and do all those things. Do you ever look back and wonder if, like, it would have been just fun to do it as a fan, like to not have to go immediately to do post-game pressers, post-game shows? Like, I know from my experience, I just worked nonstop. Like, I was burnt out by the end of it, as much as I was
so
enjoying
tired,
it.
man. Yeah.
I know, like, take Kawhi's Game 7 shot. I didn't see it until like 20 minutes after.
Man, what?
I was in the crowd, and because I was like facing the crowd and like facing everything that happened, I couldn't watch the live play, right? Like, because I had to like. Which I'm not like, it's not a complaint as much as like that comes with the job, and it's great to be a part of the experience. But yeah, there's like a lot of things. And then, as you guys know, like for me personally, basketball and all that stuff is like very much ingrained with my dad. And it's just like, oh, I couldn't just sit for any game with him to watch the game.
Sure.
Because I'm working the whole time. And so I don't know. It's interesting. Like, obviously there are like such specific reasons when you talk about Masai and like what he went through. But I think like even things like once it was over, I had to go straight to thinking about re-signing Kawhi. And like in a very similar way, it was like once we won, like everyone at MLSC had to think about the parade. Like we just like partied and like lost, like maybe we're on like a couple hours of sleep, and then we were just back in the building organizing a parade and figuring out who was walking what parts, who was covering what parts, and it just like kept on going and going. So there was just like a thing that I don't know that I got to sit and process until maybe like November of that year. Yeah. So, but yeah, just curious, like for you guys,
what I mean? Like we put so much in. I mean, not we. Like I'm not trying to put myself in the these guys. They put even more into this than we do.
Of course,
but obviously, this is also our jobs. Like we put so much into this. Like that's why I want for when you get that chance to have the ultimate reward for people to actually just get that. And to me, nobody deserves that feeling, that satisfaction, that reward more than Masai himself, man.
Absolutely.
And it's actually like taking me out. It's taking me out how much he wasn't able to enjoy this. Like I don't know. I guess this is not anything new. It's not anything revolutionary. Like we knew obviously what happened to Masai that day, and we know how unfair that is to be racially profiled in any sort of situation, but especially at the prime of your career in like the crowning achievement moment. But like, if you put your whole life and energy into this, and you build this whole thing, and you can't have it when you need it the most, it's I don't know. This shit will haunt me in therapy. Like I would talk about this in therapy all the time. Like this would be the number one topic I talk about.
Make better use of your money, man.
maybe I don't have bigger problems. Maybe I'm really blessed because I don't have bigger problems. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, to answer Jerome's question is no. I really enjoyed making a lot of money while watching the Raptors win the championship.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
This wasn't just about the money for you, Alex. You weren't always cynical about the team, man. You love the team, bro.
No,
I know how happy you are.
No,
man.
but he was asking if I regret like not being a fan. No, I enjoyed working during the championship.
Yeah, no, totally fair. Yeah, I think I just like it was just apparent for me, and I noticed it just because the pandemic happens the next year, and we got to like because they replayed everything.
Yeah,
and so you kind of just got to watch each game in sequence again. And I remember having a moment of watching it, which I got to do at that point, like with my dad and everything. And I was like, oh, this is what it was like to watch these games. Because I just didn't watch them. I like worked on them. Like I was just like watching the crowd and like catching moments, but like it was just such a blur. And so, yeah, I was just curious how you guys felt about it. That's all.
I'm just telling you, the whole situation was like surreal, man. and yeah, that is one of the number one thing I would like to go back to. So
Sure.
Yo, we're gonna win another one, like Masai said, man.
Yo, man, Masai said that. Darko. By the way, Darko also said in his press conference,
Multiple championships.
he said that the goal, even there's no end goal. So even if they win their championship, and when they win their last championship or next championship, their focus will just be to win the next championship, and that he wants to set the team up for a period of success for 10 years where they're contending. Basically, when I thought about it, because like obviously it's like a pretty bold statement, right? Especially again, the Raptors won 30 games and they won 25 games last year. When I hear that statement, it sounds like he basically wants to turn us into the Spurs.
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
Sure,
because
let's actually do it though. Yeah.
No, I agree with you.
Okay,
No,
yeah.
I totally agree with you. But like, it's for me something that's like, that's the vision. Like, it's not just the vision of the way they move the ball, the way that they sort of like want to play this unselfish style. They want to play with multiple guys who can score the ball. I mean, like, obviously we all know what the Spurs were at their peak, but like, that to me was, I guess, the big takeaway was just like, that's the type of program they're trying to build towards. And I mean, who knows, man? Who knows who's going to be around 10 years from now, let alone if the Raptors will compete for a period of 10 years. Like, especially hearing Masai's discussion about like there's so much parity in the league that, there's a new champion every year. How could anyone be expected to compete for 10 years? I mean, like 10 years ago, OKC had KD.
Well, all these programs like the Spurs
You know
and
what I
the
mean?
Warriors that have the longevity, they also have a superstar to build around, right? So
Sure. Yeah.
that's what
Sure.
you need. Culture is great. All this other stuff is great.
Mm-hmm.
Continuity is great, but they had Tim Duncan, they had Steph Curry.
Sure. Yeah, but who's
So-
our Tim Duncan? Who's our Ginobili? Who's our Tony Parker?
Because that's all I'm saying, man.
Who's our Bruce Bowen?
No,
who's
it's
our
cool.
Matt Bonner?
It's cool to sit here and lay out a Spurs plan, but I don't see it right now.
Mm. That's fair.
Like
Yeah.
not to pour cold water on Darko's plans. Yeah.
I mean, look, listen. If we get to that level, we're competing for 10 years. I mean,
I would love that. We
would be
had a version
great
of
thing
that.
for everybody.
We really had some semblance of a version of that
Yeah.
with Kyle and DeMar. Like, we went on this run
Mhm.
that stretched like 6-7 years, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like you zoom out at the NBA now, you zoom out at the NBA since the Raptors have won the championship. Like, how many teams can you say have been on that trajectory, right? Boston's probably the only one that I can think of.
But
like,
don't you
even-
feel like
yeah.
that team's going to be broken up eventually because of the financial?
Sure,
aspect?
yeah.
They're
But like,
they're so expensive now.
but like in the present right now, Boston's the only team I can think of that's on like a 5, 6,
Mhm.
7, 8 type year run, right?
Sure.
Of like just like success, competing for the playoffs and stuff. Even other teams like OKC took a while to get going. They're at the start of that. Houston had to rebuild through like James Harden.
Hmm.
It's just like it's tough now in today's NBA to even get a stretch of like 5 years where you feel like you are building towards something.
Dude,
right?
it's
Where you
tough
have
now
that-
to even get a championship window of 3 years.
Yeah.
Right?
So
Like-
you got to
like, our
get
window
Jalen.
was
You got to get
1 year.
Jalen Brunson to take $150 million discount to build a team these days.
And that team's not even contending.
I know.
The Knicks aren't even a contender.
No-
You know what I mean?
No
Like,
team is headed for a second round 6-game exit more than the Knicks. Man.
Your
Their
an-
destiny was written 5 weeks ago.
no, your agendas are anti-Nick and anti-OKC. I love it.
I'm
man.
not anti OKC. I just got sucked into the Clippers again, and the Clippers
Yeah.
happen to be on that side of the bracket.
Yeah,
It takes very little for me to get sucked into the Clippers.
that is fair. You're
I'm
almost
gonna
just
hit
dying
both you
from
and Jerome in the thighs when they make the conference finals, man.
Oh yeah, the
I'm
Steve
gonna
Ballmer
do the Bomber celebration with
the
you guys.
grip. I'm something of a claw myself.
Meow.
We had dinner last year, like almost to the date, where you were trying to convince us that the Clippers were going to win the Western Conference. You didn't believe in the Nuggets. You didn't believe in a
Yeah.
number of teams.
Oh, all my agendas are coming for the first round here, man. It's gonna
yeah,
be great.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's the
I do
long
this
game.
every year. I do this every year with the
Yeah,
Clippers.
yeah.
Yeah,
The
buying
Clippers-
the Clips.
It's
the
the
Clippers-
annual buy Clipper stock.
Yeah, the Clippers get me every year, man. God damn it.
Yeah, I mean, I think to the idea of look, maybe contending for 10 years is like basically impossible for anything to do. But I do feel like some of the recipes for success that San Antonio were able to sort of like lay out, I think that those are probably the things that I would love to see the Raptors just like incorporate regardless of where they are in their sort of situations. I think number one, they had a really solid and stable team culture. It obviously starts with having a great coach like Greg Popovich, and then having a superstar like you mentioned with Tim Duncan and multiple all-stars. in Ginobili and Tony Parker and eventually Kawhi. But like I feel like the other part too is just like having a stable team culture where you can then take players, even if they are not lottery picks, even if they're not like you're getting number 1 overall picks, you're still able to fold them into what you're doing and make them look good. You know what I mean? Like Boris Diaw never looked better than when he played. Well, actually, that's not true. Boris Diaw looked pretty good with the Suns, but Boris Diaw never looked that good as when he played with the Spurs. Marco Bellinelli never looked that good as he played with the Spurs. Danny Green, we had Danny Green in Toronto, a pretty solid player, was better in San Antonio. You know what I mean? Like where they're able to just like funnel in and find pieces, whether they were undrafted, whether they were second round picks, whether they were like, you know, even Matt Bonner. Like Matt Bonner was a 45th pick, and the Raptors acquired him from, on draft day, and ultimately they moved off of him for Rajon Nesterovic. Matt Bonner goes on to have a really long, successful career with the Spurs because of that stability, because they have a system in place. And I think that those are the kind of things that I hope the Raptors are able to fold into their program. Obviously, that's like saying that, something very straightforward and obvious in the sense that like you should try to emulate the Spurs, arguably one of the most successful teams in all of NBA history. But especially for teams like Toronto, where you're never going to be the glitzy market like the Lakers or like even the Heat or the Knicks, even like this is the model. And that's, I think, OKC's model right now. And I think that that's what the Raptors are trying to build towards. We just obviously have to see where they can go with that.
Yep. Agreed. All right.
Last thing from the two pressers, Darko did say, as you might have guessed, Darko had a lot of flattering things to say about Scottie Barnes. So that's probably the last thing I wanted to touch on was sort of Darko's assessment of Scottie on the season. An episode can't go by on the Raptors podcast without dissection of Scottie Barnes. Poor guy, man. So Darko said about Scottie and sort of the experimentation that took place in his game throughout the season. He said, Scottie Barnes is a unicorn. I love everything about him. Scottie Barnes is the reason why our defense was so good. Scottie Barnes put so much into it. He owns it. He's motivating them, and he's setting the standard with how hard he plays. I'm really proud of him. He's a leader for the group. He kept the group trusting and believing. He said, offensively, I allowed him to experiment with post-ups, with mid-range, with drives. It's important for him to identify the best tools in his bag, and then that way the Raptors can figure out the best way to use them. He also talked about the growth for him moving forward. He needs to keep growing on defense. He needs to be in contention for Defensive Player of the Year. There's several areas where he can, continue to grow, but most importantly, needs to get more efficient. Last 2 months, he really struggled with his right hand with the injury there. He was hurting. He said he couldn't really grip the ball. He played through the pain. He gives him a lot of credit for still playing through that. And the playmaking, decision-making is there for him that, there's other small things that he cleaned up the turnovers a little bit when he played backup point guard. And that's something that needs to sort of stay sharp long-term. But just Darko's assessment of Scottie in general. And I guess like nobody's really more in charge of Scottie's long-term development than Darko, his head coach himself. What do you make of sort of the assessment that he had on Scottie on the season based on what you saw this year with Scottie as well?
Yeah, I think, Darko's always taken a positive, spin on Scottie, been his number one supporter. I think Scottie, when
he's
he
legit the number one. Like, I don't think any coach. So we were watching the playing game yesterday, and after the game, Steve Kerr had a really long hug with Steph Curry.
Yeah, definitely not with Jonathan Kuminga. Yeah. Bench mob.
No, Kuminga's like their Chris Boucher. They're just like,
Kuminga was staying after the game, getting shots up after game 82. I was dying after getting benched.
Oh man, more buckets for Kuminga.
Oh god.
But like, yeah, I mean I turned the drum and I was like, that's kind of how Darko appreciates Scottie, the same way that like Steve Kerr appreciates Steph Curry.
Darko, Mr. Positive, but I think he's built a great relationship with Scottie. I think and then part of building that good relationship, because I know he was talking yesterday, about how he's not going to be shy to hold players accountable. If he wanted everybody to like him, he would sell ice cream, which they did sell ice cream to the media when they introduced Darko. Just saying.
Yo, I didn't even book that until you said that. No,
he was selling ice cream.
That was the press conference where the Raptors held it outside in like Jurassic Park. They had all these seats. They had actually like it looked like 50 seats, and we're like, there's not 50 media members. But then they did the usual thing where they like put a bunch of MLSE employees in the back to make the crowd look a little bigger. They gassed it up a little, but they also did serve ice cream, as you mentioned. And that was the press conference where Masai said, "I want to be Yuri Yakovich."
Oh God, yeah. Which, Blueprint 3. But I think
every day a star is born. I love that album.
It's got some songs. But yeah, no, what I mean to say is, like, I think by building this good relationship with Scotty and all the players, then you would hope that, like, you know, when times are tougher or you know, when they're going through things, then you can be critical and you can be harsh. And I think that's what Darko is building towards, you know. And I think he won't have a problem having those conversations with Scotty if needed, and things like that. So, you know, I think it's good.
What was interesting about I guess both what the players' perspective on Monday and also what Darko said on Tuesday is that the outside perception, and I'll fully cop to this because, like, you know, sometimes when I see how overwhelmingly positive is or how relentlessly positive, for me, I'm just like, are you know what I mean? Like, are you being real with people if you're only being positive? I think what I've learned in the two press conferences between Monday and Tuesday was that there are true examples of Darko showing you the other side of, like, not just being always complimentary, not always being like, we'll never call you out, we'll call you up. You know what I mean? Like, all the sort of relentless, like, Ted Lasso energy. There is that other side where, you know, Jacoby, for example, talked about it. There's one game where, you know, they played, I think, Indiana, and he was guarding Halliburton, and he kept putting pick and rolls, and he kept getting, you know, slammed into on screens, and that obviously compromises the defense if you're chasing the ball handler, if you get, you know, caught on the screen so many times. And Darko called a timeout, and he, like, really laid into him. And then the next day at film session, they really, really showcased so many clips of Jacoby getting hit on screens, and it really left a big impression on Jacoby of, like, okay, I got to get better, especially on the defensive end. And then Darko also shared his own story about, like, there was one game they were on the road, they were playing poorly, they were coming in at halftime, and Darko said he just went in on Scotty. And he's like, Scotty doesn't even play, he wasn't even playing bad, but he's like, I went in on Scotty. And instead of sort of like Scotty pushing back and being like, yo, why are you singling me out? Scotty was like, you know what? That's my bad, coach. We'll play harder. I need to get better. And that ultimately rallied the team. I like hearing those moments because for me, I haven't seen any of those moments publicly, like, at all, remotely, right? Like, anytime Darko is in front of people and in front of the camera, he is only defending his players. And not to say that he is, like, not being realistic, but he is, like, that is the agenda. Like, he is always going to be praising them. But at the same time, it's good to know that behind the scenes, because he's so positive, because he builds such a amount of trust with the players, that then when he needs to be real with them, that the message isn't taken the wrong way. Because I do feel like it's in sharp contrast to when Nick was here. We remember we did a whole segment on the show, which we were like, here's the history of Nick Nurse calling out players. And we went through like 8 players.
Yeah, I think, you know, you don't get to spend this many years like Darko has, like, in the coaching ranks, like working in player development, and now getting a chance, you know, was an assistant and then getting a chance to be a head coach without having these skills, right? Like, without having the relationship building with the players. So, like, as much, like, I think, you know, we joke about too a lot about just, you know, Darko, like you mentioned, just his, like, positivity, his toxic positivity. Like, he's obviously got a good grasp with the players. He's got a good grasp with Scotty, and I think all of this stuff will channel positively for the team going into next year. Like, I think for all the things that he's had to check off for his first 2 seasons here in Toronto, I think he's done a good job.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, that's
kudos to Darko.
Kudos to Darko. I think. Look, I think. Everyone's pretty happy with the job that he did this year. Again, it wasn't really about wins. It was about developing the players. And if all the players are pretty happy about the situation, if everybody's pretty happy about sort of the direction of the team and sort of like the identity of the team, then for me, I'm just like, you know what? Just keep building on this, and then we'll evaluate you guys more next year.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, like, this year really was kind of like not a pass, because I really hate doing that. Like, I hate being like, oh, this is all pass. Like, we'll just wave off everything. You know what I mean? Like, I want to evaluate the ups and downs. Even if development isn't linear, and even though this is not the best version of the Raptors, I still want to evaluate what they are right now. I'm not afraid of that. But I would love to see next year the pivot towards more winning. Like Scotty said, there's really no excuse for them not to make a playoff run next year.
Yeah.
They have the pieces.
A+ for everybody, you know? A+ for everybody after a 30 and 52 season.
Well, look, listen, if you're not grading them on wins and you're grading them on vibes, there really was A+ vibe. Like,
God damn it, I hate grading teams on vibes.
We've been doing this so
what
many
happened
years
to
in a row.
What happened to Shaq and Kobe hating each other on their way to 3 rings? Man?
Well, you know what?
I miss those days.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot that went on in those Lakers teams. And eventually, Phil Jackson wrote a whole book about it.
Oh, brother.
Actually, that team might be the all-time lowest vibes team because like Kobe and Shaq hit each other. Shaq was like, sleeping with Ginny Buzz. Like,
I can't.
it's just so many things. Wasn't Karl Malone on those teams one of those years?
Ah, man, we're not talking about that, man.
All-time zero vibes team, man.
All right, before we go, we got more playing action tonight. The Walking Dead Dallas Mavericks are in Sacramento in the 9-10 game. Lots of excitement for that one. So Sacramento is a 4.5-point favorite on Betway, and it's 1.90 odd for the Kings. I think it's time to put Dallas this season to bed tonight. So.
Oh, really?
I think it's I think Sacramento.
Really?
Sacramento by 25 tonight.
Okay, so let's see here. Sacramento has more playing experience. As you guys have made me aware, and as I've also seen on the No Dunks account, Jonas Valanciunas has literally been in the play-in every single year of his career.
Yeah, he could become the first player in NBA history to win a playing game with 3 different teams tonight. Yeah,
that's like Kawhi Leonard winning a chip with 3 different. That's like LeBron winning a chip with 3 different teams, or whatever the stat was.
That's Dante Jones signing a contract on the last day of the Cavs season 3 different times to join them for the playoff run.
Not the enforcer. I think. The point was raised on your favorite episode or your favorite podcast. So, well, that's actually Zach Lowe's podcast, but Bill came on and they were kind of joking about like which team would want to lose this game more. There's a real 1-2-3 Cancun situation here, and I really did agree with that point. So my question to you would be, which team actually wants to finish the season the most tonight?
Undeniably Dallas. I think Nico Harrison held a secret press conference yesterday, invited select media, gave them less than 24 hours notice. And they could record the interviews, but they could not like post any videos of it online.
That's crazy.
And just continually defended the trade of Luka, I believe, like threw Dirk under the bus.
Yeah,
and said that they don't have a relationship with him, and he says that he has no regrets over the Luka trade. Like, yeah, to do that like a day before your team is going to play in this do or die game. Yeah, I don't know, man. I just think it's gonna end tonight. Also, Klay Thompson was 0 of 10 last year against Sacramento in the play-in.
Oh man,
in Sacramento.
Oh man.
So he's got to break that streak tonight as well. So I think it's the Kings, man. The Kings.
Wow.
The Kings got it. So Kings are minus 4.5, 1.90 odd. Make sure you hit the QR code below and check out all the basketball betting odds on Betway.
Yeah. One organization, the mics are hot. The other organization, you're literally not allowed to bring microphones. Like it's there's a variety of different approaches across the league. I appreciate the Mavericks for literally doing a season-ending press conference before their season ended.
No,
like, you're right. Why didn't they just talk after the playoffs are done? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like a normal team would.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on over there, but yeah, the other matchup we've got the Heat versus the Bulls, so that'll be a fun one. Yeah,
I mean, Heat versus Bulls. Have we not seen that one yet? I feel like we've seen that one already. Right?
I think we've seen so many versions of that.
Yeah. I love that the caption popped up as we're talking Heat Bulls. Real NBA basketball is finally here with NBA playoffs.
I'd like
Heat Bulls.
I would like to see the Bulls win. Like to see your boy Josh Giddey, in the playoffs. I think that'd be fun. Yeah.
It's not my boy at all, man. Please do not say those words on my front. No, I think did you watch the game last night, the Warriors and the Grizzlies?
Yeah.
You had the money on the game?
I bet on it, yeah.
We were texting about it live. Oh, I was texting with Alex. You were really locked in. But yeah, he was we were watching it from different locations.
What did you make of the game? Because, that was a really fun one in the second half. A little sloppy. A lot of free throws. I felt like Jimmy Butler's highlight reel was 18 different free throws, and a couple of dunks. But how first I'll start here, actually. What's the Asian contingent have to say about that Zach Edey performance?
Oh, man. They were calling him Yao Ming with tariffs.
Come on, man.
They're saying Yao Ming with Angel Reese's shot making. I saw that one as well.
Come on, that's not Yao Ming anymore. Then you could have just called him Yijian Liang, man.
Yeah, why can't he be compared to a black center? Yeah, why does it have to be the only Chinese guy?
Oh, now we're putting the race card. It's crazy, man.
Yeah. That's the worst time to play a race car.
Yeah, it's not
Defending
not great
the
timing.
only Chinese center is so funny, man.
I felt bad for Zach. It felt like he was afraid to put the ball down at any point. You know what I mean? He kept getting like, because
He
the
kept on
Warriors
losing it.
Well, the Warriors are playing small, right? So like he was getting guarded by like Draymond, sometimes getting guarded by Jimmy Butler, sometimes I mean like Kevon Looney, even Looney, like Looney's not that big. Like he's like 6'10, and Zach Edey's like 7'3. And so if you're gonna play against bigs or against getting guarded by small guys, they're gonna swipe for the ball. They're not gonna block you up top. They're gonna swipe. And so I felt like he got really worried about putting the ball down, but I just can't help like he did some positive things, but I can't help but feel like Zach caught the ball deep in the post like 5 or 6 times, especially in the second half, and he just never turned around to look at the basket. And I'm like, dude, the rim's right there. Stop trying to kick it out to like whoever it is on the perimeter. Like I know Bane was shooting it hot or whatever, but like for me, I was just a little disappointed. But then again, I was like, he's also just a rookie. You know what I mean? It's just
The Warriors feel a little old to me, though. I think I'm gonna pick the Rockets in the first round.
Okay.
Yeah, Warriors felt like I don't know. They felt like they were always like stretched. Like the game was never easy for the Warriors, even in the first half when they were up. It's just like there's a lot of guys out there. Like at one point they had Buddy Hield. He was guarding John Morant, and I was like, you can't play Buddy Hield, man. They're gonna isolate and target him every single time. And then it's like Gary Payton Jr. Or he's in the game and he's like he can't really shoot. Jimmy Butler really just like tries to pass. Like he actually like overpassed into that turnover towards the end of the game, where Pods got the block and they called the foul. Like he's just has a weird situation where he doesn't want to take the shot so much of the time that it affects the team.
Yeah, I think the Warriors Rockets remind me a bit of Warriors Kings from 2 years ago. It's going to be like young team versus experience. So it's going to get scary like once you get down to a game 6, game 7, because the Warriors got Steph, they got Jimmy and Draymond. Draymond versus Dylan Brooks.
Man,
is coming back. But yeah, I'm picking the Rockets, man. Damn.
Really?
Yeah.
38 and 37 from Jimmy and Steph to beat the Memphis Grizzlies in a play-in game is, I don't know if that's a formula to go deep.
At the same time, the Grizzlies did play well. Like I can't really take it away from them. Like Bane was killing it. Shouts to Bane and his short arms. It's like the number one thing that stands out with Bane.
Alex, how do you feel about Moses Moody's game?
Yo, your boy Moses.
Yeah, I honestly feel like me dapping him at All-Star Weekend kind of gave him a little lift. Yeah. Like I feel like he's like, yeah, man. Like guys in the Bay Area really support me. Like it's time for me to step up. Yeah. So,
9 points.
Yeah, like good defense, Yeah.
3 rebounds, 1 steal, 1 block.
He's like, Andy Liu really loves me, huh?
I feel like that interaction, I'm gonna give myself like 2% credit for Moses Moody becoming a steady rotation player with the Warriors. So yeah.
I mean, honestly, it's weird because you just never really know with the Warriors. But I mean, yeah, that series gonna be interesting. I don't know. I still feel like, especially like you saw the difference in crunch time, right? Like the fact that you can just have Steph Curry like hitting those threes, that ridiculous bank shot he had where he drove and he just stopped and he just like
popped the floater.
That thing's ridiculous, man. The skill in that involved is nuts. And then obviously Steph like grinning like a maniac he's like, I gotta hit both free throws to like win the game here. He's like, yeah, no problem. And he's like smiling, he's talking shit, he's like chewing on the mouth guard. Like the aura is incredible with Steph. That's the level of confidence I just don't have in anybody in the Rockets, man.
I get it. I
just think if they get into a close game, I would much prefer to be on the Warriors side than the Rockets side. In like an open, free flowing game, I think I prefer the Rockets. But I don't know, man. It's
Rockets in 6.
Rockets in 6. All right.
Lock it in. Lock it in.
Lock it in.
All right. Well.
All right.
It was fun. I guess this is the last time we'll do Raptors stuff. At least from like directly from the organization. We'll do a Raptors report card next week. We'll look back at some Raptors moments. Still might actually call it Raptors moments.
Yeah, get a guess.
Sure.
Stop saying that. You'll be on that episode, man.
Samson for grades.
Yeah, get ready to draft, man. Yeah. So, well, this is fun. It was good to hear from the organization. A+ all around. A lot of A+.
Before we go, shouts to Padre 3000.
Oh, okay.
He saw me at the Jays game last night, and we dapped up. So appreciate you. He didn't tell me he was Padre 3000. That's a regular in the chat, man. So
Wow.
What up to you? So
what was her name, Alex?
Yo, man, let's wrap up the show. Yeah. Shouts to you, Padre. Yeah.
Shouts to you, Mr. 3000.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Loved your work when and Outcast.
Yeah. Love the Speaker Box Love Below album.
Nah, it actually is dope, man. Big shouts. Oh, also, somebody pointed this out. Is Masai wearing his name on his wrist? That's kind of goated. I believe the story there is somebody from one of Masai's camps actually like did the beadwork to actually like make that for him as a gift. So it's not just Masai wearing a bracelet. Although for a while there, me and Alex were both wearing bracelets that said hello and welcome.
Yes, shouts to Maddie for those. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would suppose it's similar to that. Let us know too if you want to buy hello and welcome bracelets. I feel like that's kind of fire too.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll find a factory in China to start mass producing those.
I don't know if we need to mass produce. I feel like we could just ask Maddie.
The
Can we
same
make
place that's making the Jordan sneakers, the fake Balenciaga bags.
Yo, by the way, that thing started to kill me, man.
Yeah,
They're like,
China is pure aura farming, right?
China's like,
the
yo,
entire China's aura farming.
China's like, oh, you want Jordans? They don't cost $200. They cost $20. So they're like, what? Hit this WhatsApp number. I was like, damn, bro, we're gonna be in a different age. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you, like, if Canada starts trading with China instead of the USA, we might be out that recession, man. I'm just telling you, man. We'll avoid that recession if we do that. I'm just telling you.
Oh my god, fake designer bags, another recession indicator.
Yo,
Did you guys ever have a plug back in the day? Like someone that you knew that had like access to
like fake goods?
Well, not even fake goods, but like everything in these, it's just basically everything up until the point that the actual, brand is stamped on it. Like I had a friend in university that would always complain, like he had a girl who would want him to buy all these luxury goods. He's like, yo, I can just get this straight from China. Why do you need that? And then
no, it's true. Well, so I mean, obviously, Alex's number one itinerary item when he goes on vacation is to go shopping.
Right.
And so when we were in like Guangzhou, when we were in Shanghai, when we were in Hong Kong, like this guy was just like, let's go to these fake consignment shops.
Oh yeah, well, a lot of our friends in the travel group like actually went to the entire mall of just like fake luxury goods.
Dude, the whole mall is fake.
Yes.
Right.
And now after watching these TikToks and videos exposing, the luxury brand industry, I regret not buying more fakes and supporting the Chinese manufacturing industry, man.
Yeah, Audemars Piguet in time, hidden behind these fake rocks.
Oh my god, man.
Oh my god.
Inside joke. Inside joke. Yeah.
I mean, speaking of
yeah, this is me wearing a fake Louis Vuitton.
This is a Canal Street fake, right?
Yeah, from the good friends at Community 54.
That's right.
When they were running a pop-up at June Plum. Yeah.
You look like the most stylish babushka, man.
I don't know what that is. Anyways,
Amazing.
We'll be back on Friday.
We'll be back on Friday. Preview. Yes.
We'll make our official predictions. Yeah.
But if you want to see them, you could also go to the Scores Unfiltered show.
No, we're doing a show for our own audience. Yeah.
Can we just ask them for their video?
We're making the same
too.
Can we do a playback and just play that one?
Oh, yo, do you want to rewatch their show and just live
our prediction space will give us a good space for us, and I want Jerome's predictions too. And
I think I just want to live react to that episode.
We're gonna be making the same show twice.
No, and we're gonna do a points. I'm gonna come up with a point system for our predictions throughout the playoffs.
Okay.
And in the first round, we have to each pick like a super lock in both conferences. That'll be worth more points.
Oh, this is an offline conversation. I think we can have the show.
And then just no. Meow. And then we have to put some kind of prize on this situation on the winner and loser and stuff.
Okay.
So we're gonna do it. So
wow.
Yeah.
Good. But for those who want spoilers, I've got Boston over the Lakers in 7 in the finals.
Oh wow. What is this, 2008?
Yeah, what year is this?
What happens, man? Kendrick Perkins hurts himself.
Although Ubuntu, although Lakers
shoots 6 of 24.
Although LeBron and the Lakers going back to Cleveland would be kind of cool too in the finals.
Oh man,
that'd be cool.
Yeah, that would be cool. But anyways, more to come. Yeah.
Let's wrap up with one last item here. 2019 forever, baby.
Oh, I thought it was gonna be Mandy Mayhem. Said I just get
Raptors,
cigar
baby.
guy.
Raptors.
You had a whole head of hair, man. I guess you still do.
Yo, the hair was kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Also, unfortunately, I did not finish the cigar, man. Cigars take half an hour.
I think this was the original aura farming video.
Yo, it was aura farming in 2019 before this actually.
That was
a thing.
insane aura farming.
No,
man.
the craziest thing is it was like 5 a.m. on Pacific time because I was just getting back to the Airbnb at that point, and it was already 8 a.m. in Toronto. So people were actually waking up, and so when I posted the video, it hit in the right moment where people were like going viral with that thing, man. And yes, I appreciate this comment here. Bro does not know how to smoke a cigar.
That thing you making those duck lips like Drake.
Yo,
Oh my
look at the
God.
crew.
Here's
Look how
another
young everybody
photo.
was, man.
Yeah, this was at that
From that
country club, I
weekend.
think. Horseshoe, is it?
Yeah,
Or
it was
not?
at what is it?
The place has since closed down, I think.
Wow.
Is
Yo,
it
Drum
closed
looks
now?
like Drum. You look like
Yeah.
an entirely
Rockin'
different person, man.
Horse?
This is Rockin' Horse.
Rockin'
yeah.
Horse
Yeah.
Saloon. Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess
that's
You could
Cash.
see Will a
That's
little bit in the
Blake.
background there. Yeah.
I'm doing like a six God situation.
Some random
that's-
people who are celebrating their
Sarah Jenkins was
bachelor-
celebrating her
yeah,
birthday.
Sarah
Jenkins'
Jenkins,
birthday.
of course.
That's why we're there.
Social media
Yeah.
icon. Dan Reynolds, who used to run Raptors HQ. Actually, Alex
Yeah.
Wong, who also used to co-run Raptors HQ. We don't
That was
talk
just
about that, man.
that was just to get a credential.
We don't talk about that, man. Come on, man.
That was just to get a credential from Jim LaBombard. Yeah.
Yo, honestly, if we just
Mm.
want to share some 2019 championship videos, like actually,
I think we
I
could
mean-
do it during our actual championship react pod, which we
Mm.
need to get back to. Yeah.
we do need to get back.
Oh wait. All right.
Is that just the background sound?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Serge.
Hell yeah.
Serge Ibaka celebrating in the locker room post game.
So this was. Oh, is that Tim Bontemps? Is that him, Bontemps, at the end?
That's me when I finally booked Serge on the show, man.
Oh, by the way, speaking of which, yeah, that's right. We need to get Serge on the show. That was. I was taking a video of Serge just celebrating. I didn't even know he was on like on FaceTime he was on IG Live with Drake.
Right. Oh, okay. Got it.
So like my phone was blowing up because people were like, "Yo, why are you on the background of Drake's IG
Yo,
Live with Serge?"
Will's fucking out here aura farming on Champagne.
Yo,
Party.
honestly, the whole championship night, I might have just been horrified.
No, you went back to your roots, man. You were farming.
I actually was, man.
Oh, that's insane, man.
No, what a good time, man. What a good time, man. What a-
Oh,
Yeah!
Go North. That's a good look. Well done.
Bro, we need to get back to this, man. Immediately.
Yeah, we're gonna win one for Masai, man.
We gotta win 2 from his side, man. We gotta win
2? Let's just do 1, man.
Will peaked. Will became Chinese Poppy that night. Kinda, yeah, actually. Chinese Baba.
Oh my god.
中国 Baba.
All right, we'll see you. Yo, this is at your Apex Mountain.
No, this was my Apex Mountain, man.
That's amazing.
Yo, you don't understand, like the whole thing, man. I haven't even honestly, even I haven't gone back and watched the whole situation, but like I still remember like there was this scene. One sec. Let me do this.
We gotta remove and add.
Remove Norm. Where's Norm in this? Jesus Christ, man. There's so many videos. Where's Norm? Oh, here's Norm. Let me remove Norm. Let me add this. Yo, man, this is like an hour after the actual game ended, man. And like people were pulling me up into the crowd and stuff, man. Like I could have
Yeah,
crowd
lots
surfed in
of-
that, no problem.
Lots of upper middle class Asians from Toronto flew out for that, man. Like, I remember scanning the crowd. A lot of Chinese. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Richmond Hill was out there, man.
Man.
Oh, that's the Drake video night. Like
Wait,
the
oh,
reaction
yeah.
video. Yeah.
Wait, which one? Look around you?
No.
When he like
We created
fist bumps
this?
and all that stuff.
Oh,
No. The one where he reacts to Clay's injury, and I'm just.
Yeah. We gotta find that. Yeah,
Yeah.
Jerome. We have to find that one day because
Yeah.
Jerome is right there.
I have it somewhere.
Yeah, it's somewhere. It's fine. We've done
It's
enough
fine.
2019 revision.
Exactly.
Masai, sorry you can't enjoy this championship, but I hope the next one you'll enjoy it just as much as we enjoy 2019 because, only real music gonna last. We had a ball making this. I'm sorry, man.
You have 5 seconds.
For myself, for Alex, for Jerome, this has been the Hello Welcome podcast presented by Betway. We'll catch you Friday.